Much of the narrative in Sefer Bamidbar deals with a series of complaints leveled against Moshe Rabbeinu, in some cases by segments of the society, in others by the entire nation, complaints about policies, his leadership style, morphing eventually into accusations of misrepresenting the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Many of these complaints took place in the year 2449, the year after Yetziat Mitzrayim. In Bamidbar 11 we have one such incident in which a group of people identified as the Asafsuf, Hitavu Ta'ava, had an uncontrollable ta'ava, an uncontrollable urge. And this urge was one in which Vayamru, Mi Yochalenu Basar, a rhetorical question in which they complained over the lack of basar, meat, in their diets. From the time that they left Egypt, the Bnei Israel were sustained by a daily portion of the man. The Asafsuf became quite fed up with this monotonous diet of God's seed, and therefore made a request for the inclusion of meat into their diets. The dissatisfaction spread beyond the camp of the Asafsuf, and they, Vayibchu Gam Bnei Yisrael, they drew the Bnei Yisrael into their complaint, causing them to bocher, to whinge, to wail, to cry. The storyline picks up in Pasuk 10, where we are told, Vayishma Moshe et ha'am bocher lemishpachotav. Moshe hears, takes note of the fact that the nation was whinging, ish lepetach oholo, each at the entrance of his tent, which resulted in Vayichar af Hashem me'od. God becomes exceptionally angry, ube'enei Moshe ra, and the situation appeared to be very bad, quite evil, from the standpoint of Moshe. The inclusion of the word lemishpachotav is somewhat problematic, in that it doesn't seem to add very much to the narrative. Pasuk could have read Vayishma Moshe et ha'am bocher ish lepetach oholo. In response, Rashi provides us with two options. One, straight pshuta shel mikra, mishpachot ne'esafim ubochim. Family groups came together to whinge over their meatless diet. These feelings of frustration and anger fed upon each member of the group. There is, though, a second option that Rashi clearly identifies as midrashic in nature. V'rabbeinu amru lemishpachotav. In discussing the inclusion of the word lemishpachotav, Chazal provide us with an insight that there were sublimated issues of discontent that were now percolating to the surface. Al iske mishpachot. The real complaint was over the issues of mishpacha. They were bocher on account of the issues that related to family life. Specifically, al arayot hane'esarot lahem, the series of relationships that were now, post Matan Torah, prohibited to them. In a modern context, they rejected the intrusion of God into their private lives as to with whom they could or could not be intimate. As noted earlier, the second interpretation provided by Rashi to the Ani Hashem Elokechem is that it comes as a warning in anticipation of the rejection of the Arayot laws in the days of Ezra. From the Rashi we have just read that interprets the inclusion of the word lemishpachotav as a complaint against the Arayot laws by the Bnei Israel in the year 2449, it becomes puzzling as to why Rashi, in seeking a textual source for the rejection of the Arayot laws, needs to refer to the events in Sefer Ezra 963 years later, when he could have related this warning to a more recent event, 1 year out of leaving Egypt, an event that clearly would have been still fresh in their minds. And with this, we complete the series of 8 questions regarding Rashi's commentary to the Ani Hashem Elokechem.